Okay, so welcome back everybody, and today I want to share with you a little something about plants, especially peppers and tomatoes, that sometimes exhibit a condition known as edema, and this sometimes happens growing indoors, and it's primarily caused by lack of air circulation. Sometimes low calcium, low potassium contributes to this problem. And so if it's happening outdoors, it might be a low calcium potassium problem. Just simply add calcium and potassium to your soil, and that might correct the problem. But oftentimes you're going to see this particular condition happen when you grow plants indoors. So it sometimes happens to me with one or two plants indoors. Sometimes, like this year, quite a few of them started doing it, I guess because I was growing the plants to full size indoors, and it just simply can't handle that kind of growing condition. So I wasn't using a fan this year, and that was a big mistake, and it caused the plant to get edema. So what is edema? Edema is a condition that's caused by low circulation from the plant. It just simply means that the plant can't transpire or respirate correctly because there's not enough gas exchange for the plant to do that. So if the plant can't transpirate correctly, what it does is it's taking up more water than the plant can actually respirate or transpirate. And when that happens, you end up with a condition that causes this type of condition. Hopefully you can see this on camera pretty well. And so when you see this condition forming on your plants, that is usually what's happening. What most experts suggest is to simply cut back on watering, just simply let the plant go almost bone dry and then water it, but very lightly water it. And you need to do that on a more often basis. What I tend to do is flood water my plant. So in other words, I fill it up until it gets completely wet, and then it drains down into the pot, and there's more water in the soil than is needed, but it causes me to have to water less on a less often basis. And you got 150 plants you're growing indoors, and it's in tight quarters, it tends to be a little difficult to water 3 times a day. It's just not a feasible option. If you're just growing 3 or 4 plants indoors, you want to let your plants kind of you want that topsoil to dry out. You just want a little moisture in the very center part of it, but you want it to dry out topside for the most part. And you water it very little, and you do that once a day, maybe twice a day, depending on how dry the air is by you. If the air is really, really dry, you might need to do it more often. It depends. Every climate is different, but air is very dry in the wintertime. And again, this condition is usually caused by, simply... Now there could be calcium and potassium and maybe some other nutrients that are contributing to this problem. But overwatering your plant during the winter time, trying to water it one day and skip 3 or 4 days because it's got plenty of water, that's usually not a good idea for most plants, including tomato plants. So you don't really want to do that with tomato plants at all. But this condition can happen to both, and if you start your tomato plants early, you may end up seeing this on your tomato plants as well. It depends on the variety. Some are more susceptible to it or not. This is what it looks like. I just showed you a couple leaves here. Kind of give you... Also, you'll see the leaves are really crinkly, and they're kind of gnarling up, and you could see over here that's all part of that condition. And sometimes you'll see some rotting on the leaves. No, that's not... That is not... late blight or anything like that. That rotting and burning off on the ends of the leaves is also a condition of overwatering during the winter time. During the summertime, when you got full sun and great air circulation, you can water it 6 times a day. It's fine for the plant, and it's in full spectrum sunlight. When it's indoors under fluorescent lighting, no, you don't want to do that because that's going to actually contribute to other problems. So keep that in mind when you're growing plants indoors. There's a very delicate balance. I really recommend, for the most part, if you're not set up to grow indoors, you need to create a room that's going to be for growing indoors. And that room needs to be environmentally controlled. Humidity, this, that. You need to spray the leaves with moisture. You need to do all these things in order to grow indoors effectively. That's why I really don't like growing indoors, because I don't do all of that, and then I end up with these problems. Now, is edema bad for your plant? Did you damage the plant? Is it never going to recover? You're going to end up with stunted plants? No, these plants will fully recover once you bring them outdoors. Basically, what happens is once you bring them outdoors, you harden them off, like you normally do. I have a greenhouse. I put them in my greenhouse. They're not getting totally direct sunlight. I might get some sun scalding on some of the leaves, but that's okay. I want this to drop all its leaves for the winter because I want new shoots to come out and new leaves to come up. I may even top some of my plants when they get this big and I'm bringing them out. So I may end up doing that, but it's not hurting the plant in any way. It's not going to significantly damage it. Once you bring them outdoors and the sun is hitting it and the warm air is hitting it and the moisture and the wind's blowing, eventually the plant will recover and it'll put out perfectly new leaves. It might be a good idea for you to top your plants. In this particular case, I don't need to top my plants. As you can see here, they split off already. And the plant's only, 6 inches tall, so it's already split. I don't need to top it. Generally, you top your plants to get the bottom part to bush out early. And you do that so it doesn't grow to like 8 feet tall. And you need a ladder to pick your pepper plants. So you top them and you keep them short and bushy, and you get a better harvest, better quality fruit. But that's a side issue. What I'm saying here is don't worry about the leaves that get the edema on it. Once the plant recovers, the sun's going to kind of scald them a little. They're going to drop the leaves eventually. New branches, new leaves are going to come out, and then you're going to be fine. Everything will be fine at that point. Basically, when you're hardening off your plants that have been indoors all winter, what's going to end up happening is the plant's going to drop its leaves, and it's going to go into a secondary growth cycle. And once it starts putting out those side shoots, it's really going to take off. So I just wanted to show that to you. Again, I'll give you another look at what it looks like. So if you see this on your plant, it's not the end of the world. Don't panic. It's not a fungus. A lot of people think that it's a fungal disease. It's not a fungal disease. It's not a disease of any kind. It's an environmental condition that causes this problem. So it's just a matter of getting through the winter and then get your plants outdoors as soon as possible, reasonably. I mean, if you don't have a greenhouse or a cold frame or a hoop house or a polytunnel or anything like that to protect them from, sometimes the overnight lows can go down into the 30s or freezing. That could be bad for your plants because too cold the temperatures at night will cause them to stunt. So we don't want that to happen. Don't bring them out too early, but the sooner you can get them out into the outdoors, the better off you're going to be, and the sooner your plant's going to recover. Once you bring them out, it's going to take them about 3 weeks to start to adjust to the new light cycle, as well as the intensity of the light and the humidity in the air. Once all these things start to balance out, the plant will decide to start putting out shoots. It knows it's springtime, and it'll be ready to go. So again, don't worry about it. If you see it, simply cut back on watering if it's that much of an issue for you. For me, personally, I don't care because all these leaves are going to drop off anyway, and the plant's going to put up new leaves, and we'll just go with the new growth from there. So I guess that's it. That was just a quick look at what edema is. And if you have any questions, just simply comment below. I'll be more than glad to answer them the best way I can. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.